Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Following on from last Wednesday's video, I made some gorgeous resin ocean bookmarks. I'll link the video here if you missed it. Well, the resin I used in that video was the Let's Resin Fast Cure. This is a 4-hour demold resin. And I had leftovers, so I didn't want to put it all in one video. I decided to make two separate videos using the leftovers, and we're going to be using acrylic blanks as our actual canvas. This is not something I don't think I've tried this before. I've definitely made molds of acrylic blanks, but I've never used the actual acrylic blanks. Now these come with a protective layer on, and what I'm doing here is I'm just peeling off one side. I'm leaving the back because the back is going to act as a perfect protective surface for the underbelly of these blanks. Now the resin I used, like I said, it was the Fast Cure epoxy, and in the sand I added some of the gold glitter that Yvonne from Resin Supplies Den sent me, and this is the leftovers. So I'm just prefacing that, like, this is all leftover resin from last Wednesday's video, and you will recognize it. If you weren't there, I'm letting you know I just did add a little bit of sparkle into the sand to add a little bit of something. And again, that is all from Yvonne over at Resin Supplies Den. Now, these acrylic blanks were actually cut on a laser for me by Moray over at Lothian Woodworks. Not sponsored. I do purchase anything that Moray cuts for me, whether it's a wooden blank or an acrylic blank, for me to make a mold of. I do usually purchase them myself. So again, not sponsored. Moray is just a superstar on the laser cutting machine. So this resin is a 4-hour cure. I've mentioned it a couple of times, but it did get to the point where I needed to act fast because it was super thick. I did mention in the last video, this resin does appear to be thick to me, and that could be the temperature of my room. But as soon as I added mica or I added the sand, it definitely went thicker. Like, it got even thicker for me. So bearing in mind I've already made the key rings, when it came to actually using it on these acrylic blanks, it was hard work, but it was fun. I don't know, I felt so much more in control because this resin was so thick. It allowed me to put it where I wanted it, and it barely budged. So the colours I am using are pale blue turquoise, medium kind of sky blue, and then a darker blue for the deeper oceans. This is all I had left from Wednesday, so I'm just trying to make the most of it and get every little last drop out. So there are two things I would have done differently if I do this again. The first thing is I would have stuck these acrylic blanks down a little bit. I would have used maybe either some clay or some blue tack just behind them on the pots. I've got them risen up off of the surface with a pot. And the first thing I would do is actually, I would definitely stick them down. You could either use sticky sided tape or, like I said, a big blob of blue tack just to hold them in place a little bit. Anytime I actually came into physical contact with the acrylic blank, it was getting knocked. It was just moving a little bit, and that's not ideal. The second thing I would do differently if I was to do this again is do what I did with the sand. I'm using one stick here. It would have been so much easier if I used another stick to actually scrape the resin off as well, help the resin scrape off. As it stands, I did get the majority of the resin used in both of these acrylic blanks, so I'm not angry about it. All of the resin got used, but there's just a couple of little tips and tricks just to make your life easier if you are thinking of using acrylic blanks as a canvas. I would definitely recommend pinning them in place with some kind of sticky blue tack, or even a blob of clay would do it. It would hold them exactly where you want them to be. So I've mentioned it too many times. I don't want to mention again how thick this resin is at this point. This is about, I want to say, 40 minutes after I finished making the bookmarks. So you can imagine I was kind of worried that it was just gonna set on me. But sometimes resin, if you're new to resin, sometimes resin can go exothermic. If you've got a lot of resin in a container, if there's a big volume of resin and it just heats up way too fast and it's too late, it starts smoking, very toxic, it goes exothermic and it completely sets within seconds. Whereas resin like this, where it's a very, very, very small quantity, even though it's on the verge of setting, you've got time. You've definitely got time because it's a big wide base, it's a wide surface area, and it's really thin, shallow resin at this point. So I was confident I'd still have time to smush the resin around, move the resin around, even though it was a real sticky, gloopy, almost honey-like consistency. I was still confident. But guys, watch the magic happen. When we add heat, I knew that even though what I had done already to kind of merge all the colours and blend all the colours out, even though it looked messy and it looked clumpy, I knew that by adding heat, we could liquidize that resin again. We could make it more liquid, make it flow just by adding heat. And this is the beauty of heat. You can already see here how that resin is now flowing so easily because I've applied some heat. But here's the thing. Don't apply your heat for too long because it will have the opposite effect. I could carry on applying heat to this acrylic blank, and what would happen is it would start to set. It would start to harden. If not, it would burn. It would start to smoke. It would start to burn. So you really do still need to gauge how much heat you can apply and how long you can apply your heat for. But look at this. It's like liquid. Beautiful. I got the most beautiful blends in this resin that was about to go off just by reapplying heat and bringing it back to that liquid form. So if you do find yourself in a similar situation, you've got leftover resin, it's getting really sticky, it's a hot sticky mess, still go for it, guys. Try not to waste that resin. Grab something that you can use, whether it's an acrylic blank, a wooden blank, anything flat. Get that resin scraped out and then reapply the heat and it will bring it back to liquid gold. Look at these. Look at the way the mica powder has gone inside that light blue. It actually looks like under the ocean, like corals under the ocean. Stunning. I decided at this point, I'm going to have some fun. I'm trying a brand new resin I've never tried before. Brand new to me, not brand new to the world. I just need to clear that up as well. If I say something's brand new, it's because I've never used it. You've never seen this on my channel before, but it's not new to the world. This is Apex Resin. This is from Just For You Online. They actually sent me their entire Apex range and I literally cannot wait. The only UV resin I've had up to this point was by Vista. I've really only ever used like a cheap one back in the day. About 3 years ago I used a more cheaper one. But back to the video, I am using the Apex UV resin to top these. Now firstly, I had no idea what direction this video was going in because I never planned to make it. I didn't know I'd have this much leftover resin. So this was all very much like, right, what can I do? I need to use this resin. What have I got? Right, acrylic blanks, grab them. Now what? What are we going to do now? So again, I had no forethought, not much foresight. I didn't know what direction these were going in, but I've got everything laying around me and sometimes I just kind of sit and stare like what would work. Ooh, abalone. Let's have some fun with abalone shells. And I thought I'd speed this bit up a bit for you because it was a process. It was time consuming. I took my time and I placed tiny pieces of abalone shells into the UV resin to create that deep ocean shimmery shimmer. Again, I had no idea what direction I was going in, but I did resign myself to the fact that I was just gonna have fun on this day. And I'm already loving the abalone in the resin. Now the abalone shells are actually for nail art. If you've not been with me long and you haven't heard that yet in the last couple of weeks, I bought a whole nail art package from Amazon. Well, I did a massive haul from Amazon. These were part of it and they are nail art gems and they are cheaper, trust me, than buying abalone shells for resin. I don't know why, but it does work out cheaper. Next up, now, again, I only received these on the day that I was filming, so it wasn't something I had pre-planned. Glitters. Look at these. Oh my gosh, guys, look at these autumn glitters. I couldn't even cope. I need autumn so badly, and I am sorry if you're a summer lover. I love autumn. Look at these colours. Yvonne over at Resin Supplies Den, I will link a Resin Supplies Den, sent me these turtles. They are the cutest, most adorable miniature, teeny tiny turtles. Foil turtles. So I thought, why not? Let's put them in. Literally just received them in the post. Perfect timing. Let's go. This was very much a shove it all in kind of video because, again, I didn't know what I was doing. The abalone shells are in. They are in the deep ocean. Now, you will notice I've been doing this in sections. You don't have to do that. But because I didn't know what my next step was going to be, I decided, right, let's get the abalone shells in. Then I'll think about the middle ocean. Then I'll think about the beach. And whatever comes to mind is what I will do. So I will lay down the UV resin in sections. However, at this point, I kind of had an idea now. We're going to put in these miniature, teeny tiny silver foil. I say silver. They're quite holographic, actually. They're like almost chameleon. So pretty. We'll put these into the middle ocean. And then, before I put it under the UV light, I'm just going to go for the whole thing. I'm going to put more abalone down into the beach section, and I found beautiful, very beach-like in colour abalone shells as part of this whole kit that I bought. So now it's abalone, turtles, and abalone, and sand, and glitter in the sand. So it's very much a go with the flow, have fun, throw it all in technique. And I would say it's definitely not my usual style either. I'm very much not, I guess, is it? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what Claire's thinking today? That was 200 seconds. I put it under the UV light just to get all of those inclusions fully sealed. And then it was a case of doing a top coat. Now, at this point, I did have to raise it up off the surface. I realized I was getting a lot of spill off. Spill off is not ideal, guys. I really do like to top coat to the point where it's just the edge. Then it was time to add waves. Now, listen, these waves absolutely did not go to plan. I used UV resin again, and this time instead of acrylic paint, I used the Vista white pigment, which works a dream in epoxy resin large scale oceans. I do have to say though, UV resin oceans, it's definitely not gripping me. They're not grabbing me. They don't make me want to make more, They don't necessarily create the same effect as epoxy resin. They definitely don't. Now, adding a little bit of heat and getting that white paint to move a little bit, it definitely added what is the word Sharon Linley uses all the time? It added value. So you can definitely see that they are meant to be ocean waves. But I think I'm much more of a large scale epoxy resin ocean wave creator. These smaller scale waves, they don't do it for me. There's also psychology behind this, guys. If I'm not good at something, I don't like it. If I can't get the results, my toxic trait, that's what the kids say, isn't it? My toxic trait is believing I can do everything right the first time, and I'm definitely not good at UV ocean waves. But the back came off so well. It did get caught in areas, as it does on other things. If you've seen me make oceans in the past where I protect the back with masking tape, or even sometimes with resin, I'll do a liquid latex protection on the back, or even PVA glue. I did that video, didn't I, where I tested all of the protective back layers. PVA glue actually works so well and dries quicker than liquid latex. Anyway, it worked in that kind of way. It basically protected the entire back surface of this acrylic blank. Now, whilst there was so much spill off, there were areas that were trickier than others. It still didn't seep under. It didn't seep in and under that back kind of protective layer. I hope I'm making sense. There was definitely a lot of trimming to be done. Like, I think my days with UV resin oceans are done. They are definitely way more tricky than I would like them to be. And there's always a lot of that kind of trimming that needs to be had if you go over the sides. I did decide to trim it right back to the edge of the acrylic because I just thought it would give it a much smarter look. At this point, again, I really wasn't sure what I was going to use it for, but the deciding factor was the fact that I'd gone over the hole multiple times. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get back to that hole unless I pre-drill it, like re-drill it open. And then I thought, really, this would work better as a fridge magnet, a really gorgeous, sparkly, ocean-inspired fridge magnet. And I'm using these super strong. They are so strong, because look what happens as soon as I lay down 3. honestly, they are so strong. They just wanted to be back together. Now, I probably don't need to use 3 magnets here, but here's my thought. If I just put one at the top, then the bottom will be wobbly. And if I just put 2, one at the top, one at the bottom, then the sides would be wobbly. So my brain was saying, like, put 3 in a triangle position, and then you'll get a nice, solid, stable fridge magnet. And these magnets are strong, guys. They're so strong. Now, as you can see here, I've got a new fancy little tool. This was sent to me by Let's Resin, because Let's Resin have also sent me their UV resin. I'm so excited, guys. I'm so excited to try so many new products. And alongside that UV resin, they sent me this precision pen. Isn't that the coolest little gadget you've ever seen? I'm sure you've all got one, but I've never had one. I've never had one. So it worked a dream. Isn't it funny how the universe works out sometimes? Because I only got Let's Resin's package. Honestly, it was a day of receiving packages, I'm not going to lie. I got that the same day, and I needed to individually get these magnets to stay in place whilst using a huge nail lamp. And yet, in this package was a little precision UV light. Guys, I'm an overthinker, okay? I am sorry, but I am an overthinker. Everything works out just as it was meant to. The last thing for me to do was to stick something to the fridge to prove they work. You know it had to be this. We've probably already discussed this in the live chat anyway, but I think it's super pretty. I really didn't know my direction on this one. It definitely screams ocean, even though I have covered up quite a lot of that abalone shell in the sand. I still think there's a glimmer of it, and I love that. Thank you so much to Yvonne for the turtles. They are super cute. Guys, if you do want to get your hands on any of the Apex resins, all of the details will be down below in the description box alongside your discount code. Again, this video isn't sponsored. They just sent me the resin to try out, and I'm really grateful, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.